I was working nights and my kids still have to go to school in the morning, so I would get home at 3 a.m. and still have to be up at 6:15. My kids still have to go to school. So grateful. I feel like I could cry to be able to spend time with my kids.
All right, we will do our quick prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity to glorify your name by serving others. We thank you for all the opportunities that you give us, and we just pray that we continue to be led by you, and thank you for every opportunity that we get, and we just pray that we can just do our best with this, and then people hear what they need to hear and you want them to hear, and continue to help us grow what we're doing. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
All right, guys, welcome to another episode of the Sweat Equity Podcast, brought to you by M4D Concepts. We have our special guest here today, Jessica, and as you guys know, Jawan and KP behind me. My name is Chris, and today we're just going to be talking a little bit about what it takes to make a transition from behind the bar into a manager role from experience with Jessica, and kind of making a transition from being a small business owner to essentially adding businesses to it. So how important it is that you have structure behind it and systems, which if you guys remember in the first couple podcasts, systems was one thing that we kept trying to drive home and just stress the importance of. And I think that we've done a really good job of putting those systems in place, and Jessica has been a part of them. So we just wanted to invite her on in Bailey's absence and talk to her a little bit about how it's been, because this is something that she's passionate about, but it's also opened up other doors for her being a part of our team. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about that and how we have made that transition with her. Yeah. And we don't like to call ourselves corporate. I think there's kind of a stigma on the word corporate, because it's almost like you sold out in a way. Yeah. It's like, you remember your old favorite band that you felt like you were the only person that's ever heard of them, like Blink-182, and then all of a sudden they signed a contract and everybody hates them. Oh, you sold out. Like, why wouldn't you want the best for your favorite band? Same thing for us. We've added another business. We're about to open Seared, and therefore there's so much work that is required to run not just one bar, but to run 4 bar restaurants, that you have to have a team around you, and you have to have people that are smarter than you and better at things that you are to be successful, in our opinion. And so I think that that's just one of our leading assets, and that helps us to be successful is the people we put around us.
Yeah. Man, I remember the first time we had a meeting and I was like, does anybody have the agenda? Y'all looked at me like I was crazy.
Y'all remember, KP comes from the corporate world. She worked for one of the more, really one of the world-renowned hospitals that happens to be here in Fort Worth, Cook Children's Hospital, and she ran and I believe you started the media.
Started social media department there.
Started the media there for her. So they are obviously in a hospital, super, super structured. Everybody has an agenda. They probably already know exactly what they're going to talk about in a meeting, whereas me, Jawan, and Bailey, we were a little loose ends. We ran a loose program, but a tight ship.
Yeah,
as I like to say.
It worked.
Yeah,
but it does get harder once you add more places.
Yeah. It really does. And somebody like KP coming in had, she has a lot of anxiety when things aren't more structured, and so it has been a bit of an adjustment period for her as well, but she's obviously fallen into our ways and we have fallen into her ways. And again, I think that just speaks to what I just said, is having people around you that are smarter than you and better at some things than you are. And that's how we are now able to have manager meetings with Jessica and the other managers every week, and they're structured. We know what we're going to get, and we've got them down from an hour down to about 25 minutes now.
Yeah, so for sure. I want to hear from Jessica, like, how does it feel coming out from behind the bar? Like, you still have your Friday shift, but you were working every single day. So it's a good break. Like, I like having Fridays still, so I can still, because it's sad leaving all of your regulars, I would say. So at least I still have that one day. It's just totally different. I enjoy it a lot. I was a little bit hesitant. Mm-hmm. But I think, like, coming from corporate, it's so different because I feel like y'all are actually my friends. Yeah. And I feel like we have, like, a little family. I'm so sweet. I'm putting myself in there, sorry. But, like, when you're in corporate, it's not like that. Like, you're replaceable so fast, you know, and y'all want to see me thrive. Whereas if you don't make it, you're cut, basically. So it's been experience, but a good one. Yeah, because you come from a pretty big corporate chain business. You bartended with us for a couple of years, but you were with them for a bit. And what's the difference between the way we run things, or like bartending at Rabbit Hole versus bartending at a more corporate place?
A lot. One, people aren't down your throat 24/7. I would say y'all have trust in us to do our job, and if y'all do need to step in, we make that happen. But just somebody not being down your throat and trusting that you can get the job done, like believing in us.
Yeah.
I think Jawan can probably chime in on that a little bit too, because you came from a very corporate background as well. And in a way, you've come from different places that are, small business owned as far as, Buttons and Chef.
Keith Hicks.
Keith Hicks,
Shout out, Keith.
Yeah, very famous chef here in Fort Worth. And Jawan got to work underneath him, but then he took a move to a very corporate company called the Keg Steakhouse that's based out of Canada. And how is that moving from a small business owner to a corporate? Because you worked there for 5-6 years?
Yeah, 5-6 years. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and then coming into Mad Hatter and then transitioning into an owner. How was that? And what do you feel like that you've been able to bring from the corporate world to here? That's a good question for the both of you. What do you guys feel like you've brought from the corporate world, especially now you being an owner and a leader?
So I guess like for me, it's kind of different. Nothing against them, but like they're like more of like a sports corporate bar. For us, like it was not fine dining, but fine dining service. So you have to like be very personable. You got 3 table sections. Sometimes if you're a trainer, you got 4 table sections.
Yeah.
But you're actually able to interact with the guests, and kind of what it brought to this side, like for the reason why Matt Hatter and Rabbit Hole worked so well for me, I feel like because I was able to take what I learned from the keg, being able to, upsell somebody, being able to talk with somebody, get to know them, kind of help them enjoy themselves even more, bring that here. And I feel like this just kind of brought me to where I am now. Over there, believe it or not, they are corporate, but they are still kind of more laid back. You weren't allowed to hang out with the managers unless we had like the big events, like Keg Cup, big softball tournament, and then you also had Keg Honors, which is just think of the Oscars, but it's actually a manager gets chosen, server gets chosen, bartender gets chosen. Actually, they win awards and they actually win prizes as well too. That's actually cool. So it's kind of one of the things. Like it was corporate, but they kept it a fun corporate. Like they weren't down your throats. Like you've been there with me. I think you all been with me as well too. Like sure. They like even with me being off of there, not working there anymore. Like they let's walk in the kitchen, talk to the kitchen staff, talk to the servers and stuff like that. And they're actually, I don't know, like they're actually pretty cool with all that stuff, I guess you can say. But yeah, with bringing it to this world, it's kind of, I feel like people actually get to see the side of you that you want to be, but also give great service as well too. Like it don't necessarily be 2 different people, but
very duplicitous.
Very duplicitous.
That's the word of the day, is duplicitous. And speaking of duplicitous, I guess I'll ask Jessica this too. How do you feel like it's been for you to be able to balance that manager role where you have to demand some respect in that role versus the Jessica that you get to be behind the bar, the fun, outgoing, joking around? I was talking to Alexis the other day and she said, man, I just love how Jessica will look at some of her customers and just be like, shut up. And they just laugh at it and think it's the funniest thing in the world, which is, when you got your manager hat on, you can't just look at people and tell them to shut up as much as you want to. You have to, have a structured, thought out conversation with them. And how has that been? And how do you feel like that you've gotten respect from the staff from moving out from behind the bar? Because I feel like people always kind of envy that in a little bit. And again, you kind of sold out in a way. How do you feel like that's treated you so far?
I think it was hard at first. I feel like at every job, anybody that moves up, it's hard to have respect for them because they were at the same level as you. So I think just with time, definitely not at first. I feel like I had to work for it. And I'm still that same person that likes to have fun. Like I'm not trying to be down anyone's throat. I still want them to think, I still want the bar to be fun just because I'm at a higher position. I think we're all able to switch our characters very easily. So, it's fun to have that one day to just goof off a little bit. But yeah, definitely during the week.
I think one thing that I've really respected, and I think part of this maybe comes from your corporate background, but for me, a lot of times I'm almost a little soft sometimes, or even make excuses for them. Well, they probably had this going on, or they had this going on. And you check that real quick, because you're like, it's their job. Like we shouldn't be like babying them or anything like that, because I tend to make excuses for people. But you're like, no, this is what they're paid to do. We're not going to put up with it.
It was weird at first, especially like when it came to scheduling when I first came over there. Before like this position even came about, you know, like somebody was having a bad day or something, and then KP's trying to get their shift covered, and I'm like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. So cool though if you want a day off, but if your shift doesn't get picked up, you have to work that shift. Like that's I've never seen anything. So it was crazy to see.
Well, and it was good to hear that from you, because like, I don't know why I'm that way. I guess because I'm just really big into mental health and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
So I do know that that's a whole other podcast about the mental health struggle in this country. But I, very respectful of that. So I feel like if somebody opens up to me about it, that it's something that I just kind of have a little bit of a big heart for it. But then like to be checked by you is actually very refreshing, because I back up and I'm like, dude, I have mental health days all the time. I'd love to stay home, and I still get up and come in, and it's, part of life and what we do. We can't just stay home every day. Yeah, exactly. We can't just stay home or whatever. So it's actually, failing them almost by being like, okay, I got this covered. Yeah. And I don't want to be called the bar mom, so don't be the fucking bar mom. Freaking bar mom.
It's kind of the reason why they went to you, though, because they understood, like, most people like, okay, get back to work.
Yeah.
Which like that's really how it is. Like when you're in this industry, you find somebody to cover for you. Others come up with it. That's up to you. But they found, I'm not calling you soft, they found the soft spot, and it's just like, wow, that's where I'm gonna go. And for you, I know it's a culture shock. I remember you telling me that. I was like, yeah, we kind of gotten that. And it wasn't a bad thing, but at the same time, they were using it for a little bit.
There's pros and cons to it. Now it's just great, because I'm like, don't text me. You need to text Jessica.
And it just puts more stress on you than anything. Like out of everybody, you're the one stressed out.
Well, and I think also with KP coming from that corporate world, she learned so much in such a little amount of time, to where she was almost hesitant to be that strict, no, you need to get there. No, it's easier to be, because she's a very kind and caring person, so it's easier to let that side come out, especially when you have somebody that's kind of opening up to you and letting you know what's going on. And of course, there's those circumstances where you're like, girl or guy, I got you. I'll get your shift covered. Absolutely. There are those circumstances, but we come from a world and growing up to where if you weren't damn near dead, you're going to school. Your bills don't get paid if you don't go to work. And if, like Jawan said a second ago, if it's your shift, you get it covered, or you drag your butt to work. And that's just the way it was. And so I think for KP, I feel like, and you stop me if I'm wrong, just like maybe when you stepped into that management role, there's a want for people to like you. You don't want to be that bad cop when you have a good cop. You always want to be that compassionate person and things like that. But I think KP learned very quickly that they will exploit that and use it to their advantage, because the bar world is, it can be pretty cutthroat, be pretty ruthless, and people will use you, abuse you, and lie to you. It could be, oh my gosh, I'm having the worst day ever, and then come to find out later on that afternoon, you find out they were out till 3 o'clock in the morning drinking. And then it makes you look stupid because you went out on a limb for them. And I think that's where we've done a really good job of setting our boundaries, letting our staff know what we're expecting of them, and moving forward with that. And she's done an incredible job of handling herself and making that transition to a boss, really, essentially a boss, because the job has to get done. If you're not there, it doesn't get done. And I think that y'all both done a really good job of getting that across and letting people know. Juwan and I come from, if we don't go to work, our bills don't get paid. That's just flat out it. If we don't go to work, our rent don't get paid, our light bill gets cut off, our phone bill's late, we ain't got nothing to eat. That's the world that we come from. You guys have been blessed to have a great family behind you, a wonderful husband. You've got a wonderful husband, so there is that little bit of second income as well. But as a 20, 30-year-old bartender,
Get after it.
it's getting after it. And so
Yeah, a tired day, you don't just stay home.
Like, what is that?
Absolutely.
What is a tired day?
Yeah.
what do you think the benefits? What do you feel like the upside to stepping out from behind the bar? Because for me, I always told myself, I gave myself an age. 35 was that age. It was 32, but I had to push it back. Or it was 30, I had to push it back a little bit. But I always told myself, hey, if I'm still bartending at 35 years old, I'm quitting. I'm done. I may have to go part-time for a little bit, but I'm finding another job. I don't care if I have to go back and start as a bank teller. I'm finding some sort of corporate job where I can have structure, I can have insurance, I can have a 401k, and I'm not up till 4 o'clock in the morning every night, killing my knees, killing my back, killing my feet, and just honestly, to be quite frank, seeing some of the people that we know in our lives that are still 50, 55 years old bartending. There is nothing wrong with bartending, but for me personally, that is not what I saw as my future and as my career.
It's just not what you wanted.
It's not what I wanted.
Nothing against people that do want it at all, but that's not what you wanted.
Yeah.
So what do you think that's been for you? What do you think the upside, maybe the biggest upside and the biggest downside for you?
I think I was in your position too. Like I was getting a little nervous. I'm not old by any means, but I'm getting older, and I was I was nervous because I don't have any backup plans, and at my old job I was offered management, but you're literally a slave to the job. You know what I mean? You're there sun up to sundown, and I knew that's not what I wanted. So here I was lucky to have the opportunity, and I think mainly that is because my kids, I was working nights and my kids still have to go to school in the morning, so I would get home at 3 a.m. and still have to be up at 6:15. My kids still have to go to school. So with this job, very flexible. Y'all understand that I have kids, and that's something we talked about before y'all even gave me the position. So grateful. I feel like I could cry to be able to spend time with my kids.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, you went from
No, keep on.
like
Just being able to go to their school events
For
and like
sure.
stuff
Yeah.
I wasn't able to do before, to
Yeah.
be able to be like, hey, can I go run to this real quick? And everybody being fine with it. It's a blessing for
It's
sure.
huge because you went from, especially you were at happy hour at one point too, and after happy hour you went to the mornings, which gave you a little more time. But
Absolutely.
when you're at that happy hour time, whatever, you're going in at like 12 or 1. So you wake up in the morning, you take your kids to school. We all know we don't hang out with our kids in the morning. We're grateful to survive to just get them there, right? But then when you're getting off at 7, you're not actually getting off at 7. You're doing all your closing duties. So you're getting home at 8:30.
Which is
and
their
our
bedtime.
age kids are bedtime.
Yeah.
So you have 5 days a week that you literally see your kids for probably 20 minutes. And they need you.
Yeah.
So it's huge to go from, I imagine that shift was really, really hard.
And it was, and I, it was more like, it's a good shift. So it was
Yeah.
like a compromise I had to make with myself. And also the kids have sports every weekend. So it was nice at least to have the weekends off
Yeah.
to spend with them. Cause most jobs, they're never going to give you the weekends off bartending. Like it's not going to happen. So yeah, it's just been a give and take. But
And those are your money-making shifts, so you kind of have to. And, I always tell people that, obviously I'm a dad as well, and I always told people, I'm like, they'll never, maybe not never, but most kids will not say, hey, thanks, Dad, for being at my game. It's expected. Hey, thanks, Mom, for being at my softball game. But the second you miss it, hey, Dad, where were you today? Hey, Mom, why'd you miss my game?
yeah.
Had to work. And I think that all of us can relate to exactly the emotions that you just had because, Riley being as young as she is now and starting to get older, how old were you when you started in 2021? How old was Riley?
Oh, she was 2.
She was 2.
Yeah.
So KP was also blessed now that she can pick her daughter up from school. She gets to take her
Yeah.
to school. She gets to spend evenings with her. Juwan, the same thing. He's now able to pick them up, spend the entire weekends with them. Same thing for me, except for I was still in the bartending world, living the life that you were living, and I had to compromise those as well, where my days were Tuesday, Thursday, and the weekends, every other weekend with her. Well, sometimes those didn't work out.
Yep.
Because I had to work, because if I didn't work, I didn't have rent.
Yep.
And then we had nowhere to live. And so to be able to step out from behind the bar and get away from that rigorous schedule that it can be, I think is a blessing. So I think that we can all feel you and feel the emotion that you just had, because it's allowed us to spend the time that we enjoy with our kids. And Jawan got it essentially right in on the tail end of one of them coming into her teenage years, and now another one coming into her teenage years. And for me, you know, like I said, it was just always a blessing to be able to go to Cadence's basketball game if it was 11:30 on a Tuesday morning, because every now and then they'll have these random schedules for high school games, and I was able to be there, and I was one of the only parents that were at these games. And I think that that just speaks to entrepreneurship and the ability it gives you to have such a flexible schedule. And then, like you said, we're all very flexible. We're all parents, and so if you say, "Hey, Xander's got something going on. I need to take this afternoon early, or I'm going to be a little bit late into the office. I've got, they've got a presentation at school." You have that now, and you're not dragging your butt around because you're dead tired because you didn't get home till 3:00 in the morning.
Absolutely.
And Bailey is soon to learn that.
Yeah.
But fortunate for Bailey is she's not, going to have that experience. She's bartended, she's done it, but now she's going to really just be able to enjoy being a mom as well. So,
Absolutely.
I don't know how people
wonder.
do it. Like, I think about it all the time. I'm like, the job I had before was 8:30 to 5:30. You didn't have, I need to leave for an hour to go pick up my kid, find somewhere for them to go and come back. That's not how it is. So I'm like, how do these people do it?
Me too. I always think about you, honestly, and I don't mean this in a bad way, because you have so much going on during the days, your doctor's appointments, things like that. I always think about that. You get it, when you get up, "Hey, I'm going to get Riley." I always think about that. What if she was still at Cook?
Oh, yeah.
What if she was still at Cook? Like, again, what you guys just described, that 8:00 in the morning, getting them off to school, and then Nick would probably have to pick her up at that point.
Yeah.
And
Which
he's got a
is
full-time
almost
job, so maybe you
impossible.
would have to hire a nanny. Who knows?
I'm lucky that I wasn't I was dealing with it, but didn't realize I didn't have as many health issues like autoimmune and all that stuff until a little bit later when I was on my own. I don't know how I would have done it when I was at Cook Children's, because you would get talked to. But I will say, like, I even had a gut check last night, like, going into this. Like, it was Riley's bedtime. Now, granted, she just doesn't want to go to bed because she's a night owl like me. She's a kid and she's a night owl, so she doesn't want to go to bed. So she said this a little bit out of spite, but it was also a gut check for me, because she said, "You never want to play with me at night because you're always working." And I was like, It's not like I'm not always working, but I will remember something and I'll go into my office and sit down and do it real quick, which turns into an hour, because that's just what my brain does.
Do you remember our agreement that we had?
No, I do. Yeah, for sure. And granted, I feel like I've been a lot better. And that's why I prefaced that by saying she said it because she also just doesn't want to go to bed.
Gotcha.
But it did, like, it's just a good, a good check on me to remember that, when we get home at 4 and until she goes to bed at 8:30, just spend more time with her, because you also just don't know when there could be a time in life that's not an option.
Amen.
So
we had an
use it
agreement
now.
probably months back that 5:00 laptop shut.
Yeah.
Don't work past in, spend your time with your daughter, spend your time with your husband, because that's something that they're very passionate about, is family time. And we just got in a conversation and where she was just kind of the same thing. It was like she's trying to watch a football game, but she's doing this the whole time. And Nick, her husband, is a wonderful man, but he's like, "Babe, hang up and hang out." You know what I mean? Like, you're spending all day Sunday working here. Your daughter's not getting played with, this, that, and the other. And I think that was also a gut check, because we had that conversation. And I told her, make me a promise that at 5:00, unless it's a dire emergency, your laptop goes shut and we don't need to hear from you about work again.
Yeah.
She still messages about work, but it has gotten significantly better. I mean, 95% better.
And that's why I try to work from home on Thursday, because that's when I get all that like little stuff done that I can't get done here because it's just concentration stuff.
sure.
Or we just start talking about strategizing and stuff. We just get off topic. So that's why I try really hard to do that. And then on Fridays, try to work some from home too. But
What do you think the biggest downfalls have been for you coming back from behind the bar into this world, or are there any?
I don't think I have any.
You get to wear normal people clothes.
Huh?
So you got to deal with me every day.
I have to deal with Juwan every day. Wearing normal people clothes probably is a downfall for me because it's not leggings and a t-shirt.
Yeah, and her and I are a lot. I mean, I think we're all alike. We all love our comfortable clothes. So that is definitely a downfall on podcast day where I have to wear normal shorts. Actually, I've gotten better. I've tried to wear, not gym shorts every day.
Yeah, you told me to stop doing it. You can't do it.
What?
Gym shorts.
Yeah. Well, the thing is
It's
in a
good,
lot
though.
of instances, is perception is reality, and we have so many meetings throughout the day, and so many reps, and so many people that come in throughout the day, and then we have staff members, and it's really hard to continuously look like a bum and demand people's respect. You know what I mean? Yes, we're entrepreneurs, so we can wear what we want. We don't have to wear suit and ties every day, and we don't have to wear heels to work every day and things like that. But we do have to maintain a sense of professionalism, and I think that we've done a really good job of that. We've gotten away from everyday gym shorts and me in tank tops, because I used to just wear tank tops all summer long.
I don't even see you in tank tops anymore.
It's not summer yet. No, but like she said, I really tried to get away from that, because when I do have these encounters that require me to put on my boss hat or my entrepreneur hat, I want to be respected, and that does go into it. When people look at you, they judge you, and they figure out how much respect that they're going to give you, and how much they're going to demand from you just by looking at you sometimes. And whether that be fair or not, which I don't think it is, that's just the way the world works.
It's
It's just the way the world works. And dressing nice opens up more opportunities as well. And that is just the truth. I mean, it literally is. It's like wearing a nice watch. Wearing a Rolex will get you into conversations that wearing an Apple Watch will not.
It's funny he says it, because there was that gala on Friday.
I was about to say, what's it feel like showing up to a gala and you're dressed down close?
We might as well have dunce hat on.
Well, later on, she apologized. She didn't know the attires well too, but still, like, what he means by that, like, the way you dress, is that the moment we got there, of course, we were like, oh man, everybody's dressed up. Don't worry, we weren't dressed like bums, but I mean, I had on shorts, he had on shorts, both had on t-shirts.
Everybody else was in like business suits or like
but
business
wore
casual.
branded shirts, and sure enough, guy goes, Matt had a rabbit hole. What's that? Immediately, like, oh. So I wonder if like we left that mark of like, man, they dress like this all the time, or like, no, these guys, Like, eventually you tell them that we own the business, so it's like, oh, that's kind of cool. They own the business. They dress pretty much. They don't change, I guess, in a way. That's what I try to look at both sides. Hey, they don't change for anyone, which is understandable. But at the same time, something like that, you want to be at least having pants.
I bet y'all thought about it a lot more than anybody else did.
For sure. Yeah.
But it is going back to that is the reality of our world. It's in everything you do. If you are I don't want to necessarily say a better looking person overall, but what we do know is it's just like in the media. It's interesting. If somebody is not dressed the part, or, isn't what the average person should look like, they get less media attention for something that's gone on than if they were the epitome of, just an attractive person.
Look at news people.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the news. I mean, these chicks that are doing the weather now are like models. They're smoking hot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not the old school.
And the men too, like they're attractive men.
For sure, absolutely.
It's the reality of our world.
Man, and to me, I just wanted, y'all remember that, I mean, it's went viral and everybody's seen it. It's that picture of Adam Sandler in his sweatpants and a t-shirt eating pickles out of a jar walking down Hollywood Boulevard. That's how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
But I need to get to that point to where I can, and whereas yes, I can do that now, but I'm not quite there.
Yeah.
Professionally to get to that point. I don't have Adam Sandler money, and I'm sure y'all saw, this is a little off topic, but I'm sure y'all saw that deal where his daughter went into, I think, like Chanel or one of those like Birkin bag type stores on Hollywood Boulevard or Beverly Hills, wherever it was. And she was dressed about like Adam Sandler, gym clothes, baggy shirt, comes in, and the lady looks at her and says, "Ma'am, can you please put that down?
Oh my gosh.
Those are for paying customers only and people that can afford them." She gets on the phone and calls her dad. Adam Sandler shows up and buys one of everything in the store, and called the lady out. Said, "I like how you so you judge people by the way they dress. Well, who's the other commission person here? You? Cool. Get me one of everything."
Oh, okay, I was about to say, I'm surprised you bought anything, but that
No,
makes sense.
yeah. Yeah.
Well, you went into a local golf shop, and that kind of happened to you.
Local what?
watch
A
shop.
local golf shop.
Oh, yeah, we've done, yeah. No, I don't even want to, man.
Man.
So, because y'all
I got-
weren't
and
the
I was-
typical
Well,
Sunday
he
golfer.
told me about it, and then I witnessed it in person. Because the way we were dressed, it's another day where we dressed kind of like how we are now, just t-shirt, shorts, whatever. We walk into, I'm not gonna say their name, but we walk in there.
Edwin Watts.
Edwin Watts.
I was trying not to say it.
There we go.
But you know what?
Everyone wants, so yeah, it's
it
one of
was
those
them
like-
for doing wrong. We
Three
didn't do
times
it.
Three
Yeah.
times, yeah, like, and spent pretty pennies there every single time, and then we walk in, and sure enough, nothing.
They don't help you, but
the
they.
people behind us, collar
Yeah.
shirt, pants. Hey guys, like we didn't get a hey, how you doing? Just
Nothing.
looked up and looked back down. And
Frustrating.
And the first time it happened to me, I pulled up in a $200,000 supercar.
yeah,
I was in my R8 when I
Yeah.
pulled up.
yeah, and they just
I was in
ignored.
a tank top when I walked in. And this is honest to God the truth. I walk in, they didn't say a word. There were 4 people behind the counter. Guy walks in behind me, Rolex, the whole, hey VIP, literally called this guy VIP. And I'm over there looking at the most expensive golf club they have in the building because I'm about to buy, I needed a driver. Nothing, not a word. I walked out, nothing. Not a single word. And then Juwan and I walked in and I said, you watch, they're not going to say anything to us. And we're in there in gym clothes and not a single word.
that's
Nothing.
wild.
Just horrible. But perception, that's just the way it is.
Like-
People,
yeah.
see that and they think that we're not going to be in there spending money when in actuality, we both have a very expensive pair of clubs and we were in there to spend some serious money. We're actually there buying stuff for a charity tournament, I believe.
Yeah.
But anyway, a little off topic, but the way we dress in our business, we do get to dress up a little bit, whereas it is not always fun, but it is nice to put on people clothes every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you look very pretty today. When
Thank
she
you.
walked in, I automatically assumed she was doing the podcast with us.
It's
Said
well,
somebody called her and let her know.
He just told himself. It wasn't me. He just told himself. You see that, right?
No, I said
to be fair, I've had to collect clothes. So sometimes I'm still wearing leggings sometimes, but I've never had to wear anything nice ever.
yeah. Well, you do look nice, and I encourage you to keep
Thank
doing it.
One question I have is really like when it comes to having to write somebody up or
fire.
constructive criticism or, just handling something they've done wrong. How do you go from being one of them, their friends behind the bar, always, not having to worry about that, to then, talking to them or writing them up like that? How has that transition been?
It's a little nerve-wracking, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's nerve-wracking for anybody, I mean, maybe once you do it so many times, it's easy, but definitely nervous. Like my adrenaline starts running right before I have to do it. But I think once I start and just try to have a conversation with them instead of, like this is all you're doing wrong, kind of like let them speak too. And, a lot of times they'll tell you why they did what they did. And at the end of the day, it's still a write-up. But I think just letting them have the floor to talk also just makes it a lot smoother, I would say.
Yeah, that's a big thing.
Do you ever feel a little bit hypocritical? Because maybe you're writing them up or getting onto them for something that you used to do as a bartender. That's the way I always felt.
Yeah,
That always led me to give second chances or at least be way more understanding because I couldn't literally come down on somebody so hard for something I used to do as a bartender. I try to put myself in their shoes and go, oh, okay, listen, this is your get out of jail free card because I would be a big hypocrite if I severely punished you or fired you for this when it was something that I did as a bartender as well. I just didn't get caught or I just didn't get in trouble for it.
I would say we're not just like writing people up willy-nilly
For
for
sure.
every single thing. We hardly write people up. I think one of the main ones that I've had to do several times is being late consistently. And for me, I cannot stand somebody that's late, so that's not hypocritical of me. It makes me like I'll start biting my nails down the highway if I'm like cutting it to the wire. It stresses me out more than anything. But I'm sure that I've done things that are hypocritical. But I would say for my Friday bartending shift, I think it's changed how I bartended as well, because I think people have higher expectations for me.
Wow.
For sure.
Is there anything that you've learned when you've come over more into this world that has given you a better understanding of why we do things the way we do? Like, is there anything that's
great
like been like,
question.
oh, well, that makes sense now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot, and just like numbers and like the moves y'all have had to make to, because we don't see that side and it can be frustrating for us, and sometimes y'all can't share why you're doing the things that you're doing. But yeah, it's definitely a lot has clicked for me, and every move that y'all made is for a reason.
Yeah, I think one thing that like we get a lot from people is like, and if we've had to write them up, I've heard so many times, well, y'all didn't write so-and-so up for this. And I'm like, how do you know? Like, we don't go around and like post on the group page, hey, we wrote up, Jessica today because of this. So it's like, you see kind of more the side of it now that other people are getting written up for those things. We just don't go tell their story because it's not their business.
I think they all talk a lot.
Yeah.
They all talk to each other, which is perfectly fine. We want them to be, friends and a
Yeah.
family as well. And so, yeah, I would say, what would you say? I would say that it's different if it's like you have to look at each situation. It's different
They
for
get both
somebody
sides.
to be late one time because they had their kid. Like, we all get that. It when it's consistent is when it's an issue.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that by writing them up, because we haven't written people up for a while, I think it sets the tone of like, this is what we're doing now,
I don't think people take a step back and really think of what being late does to everybody else. It's not just that you're late. What that in turn happens is then, everybody that shift before you, they then have to start doing your duties. They're late to get home. They're late to get out of there. There's just a trickle effect. There's a lot more to it than you just being 5 to 10 minutes late. It changes everything.
Y'all mentioned a minute ago, you being a mom, trying to get home to your kids. That 8:15, 8:30 just turned into 9 o'clock because somebody decided they want to be 20 minutes late.
And they're already in bed.
And I think Juwan can also speak on this a little bit too, is making that transition from bartender to owner. I think he's done a really good job. I think people definitely look up to you and take you way more serious than they used to. And not that they didn't take you serious, you just took a little while to step into that role. Even though you were an owner, you were still just kind of with the gloves on in a way, not necessarily making excuses for people, but it was still, you weren't as upfront as you are now with letting them know your expectations. And whereas everybody thought I was the mean guy and I was the intimidating guy, now it's Juwan. I hear everybody's intimidated by him. And the thing is Juwan and I have never yelled at an employee. I've never cussed at an employee. I've never sent them threatening text messages or threatening their job or anything like that. I've always had, very productive conversations with them. But people do understand when I speak to them in that manner that I'm serious about what I say. But it's so few and far between I've had to do that. But I used to always tell the staff, and I tell you the same thing, make me the bad guy. I don't care. I'm the owner. Make me the bad guy. I don't care. Tell them that I told you to do it. Tell them that I told you this. Well, then it turned into a legitimate fear that people had of me, even though we had never even had a conversation, and I may not even know your name. And so there were meetings where I'd be like, hey, Juwan, I'm on the way to the meeting. He's like, why don't you just stay home? And I'm like, stay home? And he was like, yeah, this is going to be a quick meeting, and you make them nervous, you intimidate them. Just let me run this meeting. And I'm like, okay. And one meeting, I said, I brought it up, and I said, well, have I ever been mean to anybody in this room? And this is a rabbit hole meeting. So at this point, we probably had 20 people in the room, and everybody's like, no. I'm like, have I ever yelled at anybody, cussed anybody, belittled anybody, put anybody down? And they're no. I'm like, why are y'all so scared of me? And
then they were scared to answer.
but it's that respect that you have to demand from your staff that automatically, you never want to leave with fear, but it just happens. I mean, like with Juwan, now he's the scary one, and he's the one that the staff doesn't want to upset and make mad. And I think that also speaks to the respect and the regard that they hold them at. You don't want to let anybody down that you look up to, or that you covet their opinion about you. It's like your parents. You don't want to let them down, and when you do, it's kind of more of a gut check for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I was intimidated by you, but once, but I think it's good to have.
Yeah, it's like an automatic thing.
Because you're an owner, I think it's good to put a little bit of fear.
Were you intimidated by us?
No.
But we're.
Don't let her lie to you.
Well, I think part of it too is Joanne and Bailey were still bartending, so I think that's different. They're interacting with us,
Yeah.
and like on our shifts and stuff, we like to banter. Like that's
Yeah.
what makes the shift. So it was a little bit more warm where you don't see Chris Jordan. I mean, I think it was when you started, y'all didn't have an office yet, so y'all were hanging out at Rabbit Hole every day, and it was typically during my happy hour shift. So I got to know you a little better. So, but when anybody thinks the owners are walking in, there should be some type of fear, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think there should be fear. I think it's more like a respect thing.
Yeah.
Like, because my thing is, I want you to come in, work, still have fun. Like, my thing is, if you're not having fun at work, then why are you working there? It sounds very bad because when you're not having fun, you're not happy. Like, that's just a weird way of me thinking. But like for me, when it comes to like the transition is that, is I tell a lot of staff members is like, hey, I want you to be better than me from what I did. So I want you, I'll give you a warning or two. But then after, when I get onto you, I don't want you being like, well, why are you getting onto me? Well, why are you doing the exact same thing I told you not to do? It's only a problem when I get onto you, but it wasn't a problem when you were doing it, right? But at the same time, you knew the good way of doing things. You knew which way. You knew what to do before I even came to you about it.
Yeah.
And you knew the best ones were I have a couple of them like, I know why you're here. I was like, why am I here then?
Yeah.
Well, and I think just to, we can wrap it up a little bit after this, but I think that what you guys just mentioned and what you said, it is a natural deal that you have. It's probably when you were in corporate and you knew the guys were coming down to check everything you were doing. And same thing when John Hinkle would walk in, I would be like, ugh. But here's the difference, is what you just said is, no, I wasn't scared of you or intimidated by you because you and Bailey still bartended. Same thing with Brian and Todd. For me, I didn't really have that respect that I had. I'm not going to say respect. I didn't have that natural little fear of ownership like I did with John, because John was the owner. And when he came in, it was like, oh, whereas I'm bartending, I'm cutting up with these other guys. But what I want y'all to see in there is the lack of respect that people will give you when you put yourself on the same level of them. And as an owner and as a manager, you have to hold yourself a little bit higher. And being a bartender and being back there cutting up with them, having a shot with them every now and then, really blurs those lines. But I do understand, as a new bar owner, it is important that you bartend behind your own bar. Get to know your customers, get to know them, because most young bartenders have to bartend to make a living still, because they probably just put everything in there. But if you notice what you guys just said, there is a difference when you're behind the bar with employees versus when you're out of the bar behind the employees. Because right now, what I will tell you is any of the new employees would tell you exactly opposite of what Jessica just told you about you and Bailey. They're intimidated by you. They hold you to respect. Same thing for you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what Lexus told me last week, is I'm intimidated. It scares me when they come in.
Yeah. She
So
tells me that all
I
the time.
think that just kind of really puts into perspective the lines that can get blurred whenever you do interact too much with your staff. It's okay to be compassionate. It's okay to be, forgiving and on a level with them, but you
Offer
always,
grace, yeah.
yes, you always have to keep that level of professionalism above you, because if there's no hierarchy, it's anarchy.
Yeah.
So I'm a poet and didn't know it. We're going to wrap it up with that one. Till next time, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.